Headlines, Tuesday, the 20th of January, 2009. Swan admits China slowdown will hurt, dodges recession question. Rees government stupidity shattering New South Wales economy, says O'Farrell. Aussie author admits insulting the Thai king. Gaza truce holding, Israelis to exit. Sacrifice to overcome war crisis, says Obama. Things will get worse, Rudd steely on economy. Men survive 25 days floating in an icebox. Investigators in the Maddie case uncover pedophile ring. Women less able to suppress hunger. Qualifications, not background, the key to a fat pay packet. Posh Nosh raided by SWAT team. 86-year-old mugged, knocked down by women. Pay rise ban as crisis beggars belief. And library shelves packed with incest porn. In commentary, from Alan Jones, Nancy Bird Walton, an inspiration to generations. From Piers Akerman, time for reality, not just rhetoric, from Obama. To paraphrase Winston Churchill, never before in the history of mankind has so much been invested in the election of one man as it has been in Barack Obama. If anything, Obama is preparing his supporters for a dose of hard reality on a number of fronts. Though the outgoing Vice President Dick Cheney is generally reviled by Democrats, some of whom would like to see him and outgoing U.S. President George Bush tried as war criminals, Obama has found it instructional to take Cheney's counsel. Far from closing Guantanamo by the week's end, the best that can be expected from the incoming Obama team will be an order which may begin the process of determining what will happen to the 250 or so Al-Qaeda and Taliban suspects and potential witnesses still held there. Among them, of course, is Hambali, the alleged mastermind of the 2002 Bali bombing, in which 202 were killed, including 88 Australians. Recently, Cheney told the incoming administration, before you start to implement your campaign rhetoric, you need to sit down and find out precisely what it is we did and how we did it, because it is going to be vital to keep the nation safe and secure in the years ahead, and it would be a tragedy if they threw over those policies simply because they've campaigned against them. Asked about this, Obama responded, "I think that was pretty good advice, which is I should know what's going on before we make judgments, and that we shouldn't be making judgments on the basis of incomplete information or campaign rhetoric, so I've got no quibble with that particular quote." Listen carefully, however, and it is already possible to detect a subtle undercurrent that would indicate that Obama is a greater pragmatist than his wishful followers might be aware. He is not going to pull the remaining troops out of Iraq on Thursday, although this may be what was suggested during his campaign. He is not going to close Guantanamo Bay detention facility by the weekend, though that too might have been expected if the bumper sticker moralists were to be believed. Children Taught Well by Tim Blair. Amazing, writes Backspin. The Washington Post feature for children, Kids Post, explains the issue of proportionate response more clearly for children than most material online for adults. Indeed it does. Palestinians say the large number of dead and wounded show that Israel is attacking them with too much force. Israel says a big reason so many Palestinians have died is that Hamas puts fighters and military equipment in the middle of areas packed with innocent people, so that when Israel targets those fighters, civilians get caught in the fighting. Bachman is outmarked. Age columnist Michael Bachman, the world's Muslims have no head. And then Australian writer Carolyn Overington. Actually, it's Daniel Pearl who has no head, but go on, Mr. Bachman. Slim chance. The Atlantic's Michael Hirshhorn on the future of old media. Virtually all the predictions about the death of old media have assumed a comfortingly long time frame for the end of print. The moment when, amid a panoply of flashing lights, press conferences, and elegiac reminiscences, the newspapers' presses stop rolling and news goes entirely digital. But what if the old media dies much more quickly? What if a hurricane comes along and obliterates the dunes entirely? Specifically, what if the New York Times goes out of business like this May? Makes people think. A Michael Bachmann line, but what must Melbourne have done to Bendigo to make them do such a thing? Is now a routine chat for ReaderDB. I've already started using this phrase in everyday conversation for no good reason at all. It works best when spoken sadly to a parking officer who is booking your car, for example. And a sensitive comedian. Tina Fey doesn't like it when people make fun of her. Hamas would not be allowed out of jail in any civilized nation of the world. I care for Palestinian peoples. Many of my students over the years have been Palestinian. And I gotta say that Hamas has served them poorly. The only thing stopping Palestine from achieving substantial wealth through tourism of their land is the terrorist leadership. With a decent leadership, Palestine could be a peaceful partner with Israel, enjoying sovereignty and living under her own law. But would that be acceptable to the other nations who enjoy destabilizing Israel?